Hello everybody and welcome to this beginner exercise, how to create out of very basic shapes somewhat interesting architectural experimental composition. So we can then also play some lights and do, well, what do we do? Some lighting studies like this. And with a point light there and a light in the back like this or like that. Or maybe we would like to add actually a sunlight coming from kind of like above us, or more sunlight towards the end of a day. What about some spotlights? Okay, here are spotlights. Or maybe downwards. Cool, no? Yeah, I think so too. So in this exercise, as I said, this is really for beginners. I will show you everything from the beginning, so there's no existing experience how to use Blender required. And with all that said, let's get started. So I went to New and created a new document. If you see here this timeline, we don't need it right now. So move your mouse here to this position, right click, join, and then click. And then we expand this 3D view space. Let's quickly review how the interface works. A middle mouse button is rotate. Shift middle mouse button is pan around. Mouse wheel is zoom in. We can also rotate our view here. We can zoom in and pan around. And this is actually to switch between perspective and orthographic view. Very good. Well, the 3D view, where all the magic happens, toolbar, mode selection, menus, snapping. Here's the collection system. And this is where all the objects will be listed and sorted into groups and collections. And then here, this is the property menu where we have all the features, or not features, well, properties for materials, light, and whatnot. We would like to remove everything. First, go select all, and then press the X key on your keyboard and hit this button. Click. Very good. Now all is gone. Now, before we continue, we should set up the scale or unit system we would like to work with. So let's go to Scene, Properties, and Units. This is set to metric. Now, based on where you are in the world, you can set this up as you would like. Metric, so meters, and then length we can specify here. Or you could also go to imperial, and then you can work, well, again, feet or whatever. We will work with feet and also turn on separate units. Then, for example, Blender will tell you something is 4 feet and 3 inches. And this is actually also, at this point, it's good to note, honestly, these values here really don't matter. This is more something that is useful for us because in really good CAD programs like Blender, you can define an object, let's say like it is 7 feet high, 6 feet wide, and 5 centimeters deep. And then the software will understand and convert between the units. Okay, so next step, what we would like to do. We will go to add mesh and we will add a cube. There's a cube. Mouse wheel, we can zoom in, or we can also go to here and say view frame selected. Then it zooms right into or onto that object. Press the N key, or you can click on this triangle here. And look at that, 2 feet, 2 feet, 2 feet. Just for giggles, if I type in 2m, 2 meters, you see now 2 meters is 6 feet and whatever. This object I would like to be x 20 feet and y 20 feet. Okay, and z, let's say 12 inches. And look at that, 12 inches, 1 foot. It will be displayed as 1 foot. Let's zoom out a little bit more. So this is our ground plane. If we want, we can double click here and say floor. This object we can drag onto here and drag it out of this collection. Very nice. So there's our ground plane. Let's make a wall. Add cube. Very nice. I would like to move this one up. How do we do this? Well, let's go to the move command and move this up. Left, right, up. So y, this is going to be the thickness. So we set this to 5 inches. And then this is 20. So this is then x, okay, 20 feet. And the height we will set to 10 feet. Very good. So now this object I would like to line up with here. If you're not familiar with 3D modeling or polygon geometry, just hold on 1 second. Take a look at what I'm going to do. I will go into edit mode. And then there you will see these points, lines, and well, what's this? So here I can select points or vertices. With this, I can select edges. And with this, I can select faces. So these are the 3D, no, the three geometry elements for polygon modeling. And that's really important to know because I can also snap to point, edge, or face. So I would like this point to line up to this point. That means, okay, let's go to this. Very good. Then I can turn this one on, drag this and to here, and there it is. Very good. If I go to here, the software is pretty smart in lining up everything correctly. Now, when I turn this one off and I move this one to here and there, let's, as a small new exercise, I would like to position this one more time. I can move this one up and down, go to here, and now I hold the control key on my keyboard. And you see then I activate snapping and I release the left mouse button. Click, so drag, control, release. Click, drag, control, release. There it is. Easy. Okay. Beautiful. Let's call this wall and drag this one out. Also you can click actually on what collection you would like to work on. So the next object will be edited right into this collection. Here I would like to create a nice opening, like a wall. Okay, so wall, no, I mean a door. There we are. This door should be Z, let's say 80 inches, and X 40 inches. And Y, we can do 1 foot. Then I will actually go face. So you see what happens when I move this one down and I hold the control key. And you see how the lower face lines up to this face. When I bring this over and hold control key, it lines up onto that face. Beautiful. Let's slide this one in like this. Very good. And we can call this door. And now this I will drag into here. Double click and I call this maybe Boolean. Turn this selectability flag on. So, turn on this visibility flag. This basically makes objects not selectable, not visible, and they don't show up in rendering. And we can turn this whole thing on off. Okay, pretty cool. Let's do it this way. So this is turned off in terms of visibility. But how do I now cut this opening in there? So Blender is a modeling tool that allows you to interactively generate geometrical results. So we will tell the software, take this cube we created and remove it from this wall. So I need to add a function to this wall. Here, these functions are called modifiers because I'm, well, modifying that geometry. Add modifier Boolean, that is this type of command like join, also combine, subtract, intersection. Okay, difference, that is good. Collection, okay, and Boolean collection. So everything that's inside this object will be removed automatically from this wall. Look at that. There it is. Here another fun exercise. We can do another cube. I'm just goofing around right now. Where is it? There, it penetrates it. Very good. And now I drag this one in there. Zack, and you see, there is the hole. The cool thing is now if I move this object to somewhere else, it automatically updates this hole. So there's no manual cutting holes and moving holes. Okay, so X and delete. Beautiful. Cool. Let's make another wall here. I have this wall, and we can make a copy of this actually. So copy and paste. Then I bring this over. This has some interesting artifacts. Here we will remove this modifier. Oh, wrong one. This here I will remove. This was not selected. Okay. And I also have here. Now this is interesting. What happened here? This collection got copied too. Maybe I had actually the wrong object here selected. So let me do copy and paste. Interesting. It did this all together. Okay, not a big deal. I can press X and delete all this stuff. This here I will select and delete. Very good. This is my original collection. Okay. Also here we can delete. That's good this happened. This shows you how we can do a little bit of housekeeping because chances are very high at the beginning you make some confusing mistakes and then you need to fix this up. This basically showed you how easy it is to do this. Okay, so edge select. We can move this, hold control, snap it right to this edge. Beautiful. Okay. After this initial hiccup with the copy and paste and the surprise of objects appearing I wasn't aware of, I wanted to go back and figure out what was changing here or didn't really work the way how I assumed it works. And this is actually a great example also to show you how as a professional learning never really ends because also software continues to develop and change. So this is actually recorded now the day after. I'm just inserting this right now. So here is a wall, and I now, when I go to copy and paste, there's the object. That's exactly what I want. Okay, X and delete. When I go to here, we know when we made a copy and then paste it, we got all these other objects. Plus here, the collection was duplicated too, and that's not really well, what I want. So what happened here actually? And then it dawned on me, it actually makes sense. This object has no relationship or connection to anything else. This wall has a modifier. And the modifier is a modeling command. We will cut something from this wall, from the collection boolean and all the objects which are in there. So, and that's actually the reason why when we make a copy of this, Control C and Control V, we get all this other stuff. Okay. And then it's not really a big deal. You see, we can just delete everything and just clean up. But it's a little bit of labor work. Is there a different way to do this? Yes, there is. So here's actually the object. And I can go now and say, just make me a duplicate of this object. So it's kind of like a copy and paste, just as one command. And it's Shift D also, the key shortcut. So click, and then when you move your mouse, you see you're instantly in move command. So what I very often then do is I press the escape key or right mouse button. Then the object is just inserted. I have two pieces there right now, and then I can move this away. It still has the connection to the Boolean modifier because this is just a copy of this. So I can just delete this. Yeah. And then I can move this around. There we are. Okay, very good. I thought this would be actually really interesting to see how also I, well, as a professional educator, sometimes make mistakes when something new comes. I need to figure that out. But also that there are two different ways how these copy and paste. So the process of making copies is dealt with in Blender. Now, I would like to make a copy of this and then put it to here. Okay, good. Let's do this one more time. So only with this one, please copy and paste. Yep, there it is. How do I rotate this? Easy. Rotate tool. Rotate, and then in upper left corner you see there is the rotation number. Type in 90 on your keyboard and enter. Or when I select this object, you also see here the rotation value. I can change this later. Oh, also this is for the dimension. Okay, very good. Let's do the move command. Move this over, hold control, there. And bring this over, hold control, bring this to there. And then, oh, the wall is too big. How do we scale this? Well, we don't really scale. We will adjust the geometry. So we go to edit mode. In edit mode, we manipulate the geometry. Go to the move command, bring this over, hold control, snap, release the mouse key. There we are. Beautiful. Very good. Now, I would like to end or create an object right at the center here of this object. So here's a little trick. With this object selected, right click and say reposition the origin to the geometry. This point here, that is the origin. And there, you see this moved a little bit. Origin, geometrical center. Now I can do the following. You see this cursor here, Shift S, and we say cursor to selected. It moved to there. And wherever this cursor is, new objects will be created. Ta-da! Okay, Y is the axis. Well, we can make this, let's say 14. That was pretty good. Okay. Then we can call this window. And drag this one to here. Select this wall. And also here I could simply say Boolean. Well, I could click here and say, well, just use the window object if I want to. Or I could use the collection, which then would mean all the objects inside this collection will be automatically removed from a particular piece. Okay, so two different ways how to do this. Only on a per object basis or a collection of objects. Okay, now this starts actually to shape up really nice. We need to have some sort of a roof. Cool. Okay, let's be a little bit more experimental. Here's a cube. This cube we bring over, hold control and snap to this edge, hold control, snap to this edge, hold control, snap to this edge. Okay, Z, let's say Z, we make 1 foot. Okay, and then X, let's say 6 inches. And let's then adjust this more time. You see here, maybe with the vertex command snap, that actually works faster. Okay, it did. Beautiful. How long should this piece be? What about 10 inches? Sorry, 10 feet. Yeah, that looks good. I now would like to have more copies. We're not going to make a copy and then move each one. We do this. We give this a modifier. I will modify the geometry, create a nice pattern. So maybe when this is so 6 inches, so half a foot. Here we could say -2. So this piece is moved 2 times the width. So this is basically 1 foot. What about -4? It's then more, no? -3, so 3 times. So there's actually now a foot space in between. So it's a little bit of math. We can increase the count. Tup, 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 tup. There we are. Beautiful. Pretty cool. Huh? Yeah. let's build another piece in here. So we will do the following. Shift S, cursor to the world origin, and then it goes back to there. Let's create cube. This cube, Z, we will set to 4 feet. So this is very easy to do. And then we move this, hold control, and we snap it to there. And then the rest actually we will do via direct modeling. So for mesh modeling, edit mode, move this face. So we slide along Y, hold control and release. Yeah, this is maybe a tick too deep. I would like to move this one up by 1 foot. When I move this one up, look at this. Oh, okay. Z, move this by 1 foot. So I can work very precise. This one here, move along to here, and upper left corner you see distance -14. Okay, if I type in now 14, oops, wrong direction. It has to be minus. Okay, -14. I'm still holding the mouse button, by the way. I can hit backspace and type in -16. There, you see, so this way I can specify really distances really accurately by using a numeric input. And even afterwards, I have the ability to still adjust this. Okay, this looks good. There we are. Right click in object mode and origin to geometry. Really nice. Let's do one more quick cube. There we are. Cube. Drag this, hold control, and we snap it here to this corner. Z, let's say 6 inches. Move this more up along Z. Then we go into edit mode. Move this along X. Move this along Y. Beautiful. And reset that center point. Now here I would like to have a nice center cut in. So we set this, Shift S, cursor to selected object. Then we can go to add mesh and cylinder. I would like to have 64 cuts. I will show this in a moment what this means. Radius, maybe 2 feet. This is good. Depth, let's say 4. And let's zoom in with the mouse wheel. When we type in 12, you see how this gets very faceted. 32, 64. So you see what this means. Very good. Nice. Now, we can call this round window. And then I drag this one to there. All the other objects I didn't give names because you know how this works. This is just more, I introduced you to do this because you noticed, well, we start having a lot of objects. It makes sense to name all your pieces. So you know now how to do this. Okay, so to this, we would like to also create an opening. Again, modifier, Boolean. This time, yeah, also difference. I will go with object. And there's my round window. Perfect. Beautiful. When I look through here on the bottom, I would like to have another cylinder. How do I perfectly position this? So, because I have the center point here and my cursor selected or positioned, I do the same. There. Radius 1, height 2 feet. Very good. And base, bring this down, hold control, there we are. And now I would like to move this one up by 6 inches. So go up. And this is only problem now with the way how Blender works. It's in feet. When I type in 6, that's 6 feet. That's not what I want. Escape. So I pressed the escape button, by the way. I move up, and on your keyboard you have, like in Excel when you write an expression, you have to enter the equal key. press the equal key. And now I can type in 6 and then the unit inches and enter. There we are. Or later here, I just do this. So I move this one up to whatever and then correct this. Beautiful. Okay. Yeah. So there we have now actually an interesting space, some sort of structure here, round opening, a door, another window. This opening is maybe too small. Okay, so we can go to here and then type in 5 feet, 5 feet. And then we can hide this again and see. Yep, looks pretty good. The only thing, this is more for people who would like to know this already. You see how this is faceted? Let me show you how we can make this nice and round. We select this object and then right click and say shade smooth. But now we have this artifact. And that's not so good. We can go to this property here and normals and auto smooth. Basically what this means, break sharp edges. Now this is a sharp edge and this is not, so make this look round and make this not round. And we do exactly the same here. There we are. Oh, this is still faceted. Well, we have to do the same to this object. Okay, very good. You see, same steps. Now we have nice rounded shading in the inside and flat shading on sharp edges on the outside. Beautiful. We actually finished now the modeling part, and then we can take a look at how do we, add lights and materials. So let's actually give materials first to our objects. We have this selected. So again, a material is a property of an object. Here is the material property. Click New. We call this white. Very good. There's a white color. We do not want this to be reflective or be rough. Let's select this one. And we can click white and do the same. And the same. And the same. Click this one. Let's make a new material. And here we call this colored. Okay. Also here, specular and roughness down to 0. Click base color and maybe give this a nice orange. Go to here. Okay, UV orange too. So you see now this actually pulls up all the existing materials. And then here, this shows us what material is being used. Okay, we made this orange. Well, we don't see this. What's going on? Well, not a problem. We are in shaded mode. For example, this is wireframe mode. Flat shaded, and this is material shaded. There we are. So when we go ahead and change the colors, you see how this updates. Okay, very good. So now we would like to place lights and then do some renderings. But before we do this, we actually would like to set up our rendering correctly. So go to this button here, Render Properties, and set this to cycles. And now I'm going to tell you a lot of things which make absolutely no sense to you at the beginning. Just follow it, and then later I can explain this, and you will see what this means. We go to Viewport Samples. Make this 10. Then go to here, Denoise, and make this 10. Very good. And we can make this 10. Also good. Thank you. And advanced, scroll down. Nope. Where was the slide path? Yeah, here it was. Click, click, and let's say 3 and 3. Very good. So many scary settings. Don't worry, they are all actually very logical once you know really what they do. And pretty much this was really everything what we needed to do here at the beginning. So when we do a rendering, the renderings now actually will be really fast. I will do another thing. I will switch actually to GPU compute because this will be a tick faster on my side since I'm demoing this. Okay, I'm also working on a pretty slow computer, so I'm using this GPU setting. If you're on a Windows machine, by the way, and you have NVIDIA uh, typed an NVIDIA card and you would like to try this out, go here to Preferences, System Setting. Maybe you see CUDA, and then click on this and click on the graphic card you have. And if not, don't worry about this right now. This is more really a little bit advanced. I set this up a little bit more for myself. But if it doesn't make any sense, just stay in CPU. All good. Okay, very nice. So, yeah, what happens now when we turn on the rendering? That's actually what we do here. We can press the Z key and look at that. And we have a pie menu. Not apple pie, just the pie menu for the various commands. And there's rendered. Like this one. Oh, there's something happening. Where is this light actually coming from? That is actually the environment. We go to the world. Here we have an environment. Look at now. It's very bluish, very reddish, and nothing really what we need. We can make this brighter or pitch black. This is just a color, and this is the strength of the environmental light, and we can set this to 0. Now it is pitch black, and that is perfect. Okay. Now we are going to add some lights. And now you will see basically why lighting studies in 3D rendering is just so much fun. Because while not realistic and physically accurate, it can be an interesting tool to explore how lighting could work inside an environment. So we will say Shift S, cursor to world origin. Okay. And then add, and then we will go and say add a light. So we have various types. Point, it's like a light bulb, 360 degree. Sun, well, it is the sun. A spotlight, well, that's a spotlight, like a flashlight, or a car light, headlight, and an area light. Area light is like a big surface that emits light, like a TV, for example, or a diffuse box in the studio. Let's go with point light. Nothing happening. Well, because the light is actually inside our floor. There's, by the way, also the point light. Let's move this one up. Ooh, look at that. There is the light. How cool. And we move this around. And we can see how the closer something is to a light, the brighter it is, the more light the surface gets. And whoops, it consumed it because it's on the other side. Okay, and in relationship to object on light, you also see shadows being created. Yeah, so what fun stuff can we do? We can move this light, for example, up so it's outside. Look at these really interesting illumination patterns and shadows we get. The light, when we go to light, has a color, so white or, well, any color we can give. We are going to be physically very inaccurate. We will make this pure white, a white that doesn't even exist. And then here we have power. Just ignore right now what stands there. It's just measured in watts. That's not necessarily how in real life we would do a lighting calculation, but think about watts, like how strong the light is right now. So 100 watts. Oh, much more power. Pretty cool. So I'm adjusting the watts based on, well, physically in my illumination, what do I see there? Is this too bright? Maybe 1000. Yeah, that is very bright. What about 10,000? Yep, that is definitely too bright. 1 watts, well, not really enough. Okay, now you see basically what this is about. You have to trust your eyes a little bit. This is also why it's really good to study your environment, so you can see how bright something should look like. Think about of what we're doing here right now. This is like oil painting. To paint, if you want to capture like a scenery, a landscape, you need to study it. You need to know how something should look. And in 3D rendering, it's pretty much the same. The software doesn't do it for you. We need to know how it should look. And it's also a nice ability because we can be very experimental. We can make it on purpose, not realistic. We can make it over dramatic and so forth. Okay, so let's go to the top view. So we're in orthographic, and now I can click on this blue rectangle and move this along 2 axes. And for example, position this there really nicely on there. And then I'm going to move this one into that opening. Look how cool this looks from here. This inner area is very bright, and then we get a super nice reflection here, or highlight. We bring this a little bit lower, and this gets wider, logically. And if we go really to the end, well, now this light is actually inside the room. Look how the shadow goes up. Pretty cool. Let's move this to there. There we are. Very interesting. Okay, let me show you something very useful. We will stop the rendering. We go to here, right click and say split horizontal, and click. Now here is one view, here's a second view. And if we want to speed up our rendering, the smaller the window, the faster the rendering. Split vertical, there we are. Okay, here I can press N, so this palette goes away. And then here I can turn on the rendering and keep it at this. And here's my object. And I can move this around and see what's happening there. Pretty cool. I can also turn all this off. So, I can really nicely focus on the interior. I would like to make a copy of this light and bring it to this cavity here. How do I do this? Okay, well, we know. Copy and paste. Oh, actually paste. I clicked duplicate. I meant paste, and then we bring this over to there. Oh, look what's happening in the back. How does this look when this other light is not visible? Okay, let's turn this light off. We move this up. What's happening to the space? Pretty interesting. And also inside the space, moving around, photographing it through the opening, framing really interesting like structures. Well, looks pretty cool actually. Looking through the outside. Yeah, that's pretty cool too. Well, there's the light. Okay, very good. So you see how useful it is to work in multiple viewports at the same time and then turn things on off. We can also here rename objects, for example, point light 1, point light 2, and so forth. Okay, so we turn this off and off. Very nice. Now let's add another light. You see the menus are actually duplicate, so it doesn't matter really in what viewport we do this. It will be the same, or what we will add will be the same in each viewport. There's now the sun. We can move this up. Very good. Character of the sun, parallel lights. You see there, yeah, the shadows are parallel. That's maybe not very too strong. 4, pretty cool. Okay, but what's really nice for the sun is we get super straight, yeah, shadows. You see they are not getting blurry. They're all super sharp. What I'm talking right now is maybe geek language. Most people don't understand at the beginning level because the sun is so far away from the earth. The shadows, the edges will be parallel. If you have a flashlight, here I will quickly show you what I'm talking about. When we have maybe a flashlight or a point light, and I move this one down to here and behind. There you can see how this gets bigger, and that is because this light is very close to this piece, but the sun is super far away, which is why shadows will have a parallel line. Okay, very nice. So back to here, and then we can just play around with maybe rotating it and trying to see what interesting stories can we create. Then also when we zoom in and do, yeah, like crop everything that is maybe distractive. Maybe this circle now, let's make this a different material there. Pretty nice. The sun maybe can be much stronger. In real life, the sun is, well, we can't look into the sun. That is how bright it is. So in rendering, we want to make the sun burning hot. And that really then gives this crisp, brilliant, energized rendering. Okay, so if we rotate this one to the other view, now you can see how this wall is glowing and really illuminating actually the space. And look at this, oh, beautiful sunset. Okay, it's also kind of cool with this really bright highlight that comes through actually this opening there. We can also re-rotate here, play maybe with the rotation of the sun going this way and going this way. Well, there's really a lot we can do. To override all these rotation features, we can just go here, tab 0, tab, enter, 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 and just reset everything. Very good. Well, that's actually not a bad thing. It's kind of like 12 o'clock, noon, the sun is right directly above us. Let's make one copy. Yep, copy and paste. Then we call this sun2. Now you can have two suns. Welcome to making sci-fi movies, but we only have one sun. So let's do just only one sun and see when we rotate this around. What are we going to get? Oh, that's also interesting how this goes in there, and then we have this line here. There's also this yellow dot. You can click and drag around, and then it will position the sun for us, looking at a particular position. Or again, we reset everything via tab and energetically hitting the 0 key and create this lighting. Okay. We're kind of reaching the end of this, and my voice is slowly starting to give up. It was a long day. Let's do a spotlight. Add and light, and there's the spot. Okay, also here the light source is inside the floor, so let's move this up. Zoop. There it is. Can get this over to here. Oh, look at there. There's the piece. So you see what's really interesting about the spotlight. It truly, really only illuminates light, well, yeah, from a point. Where spotlights become really interesting is when we get them close to a wall. Maybe, well, ideally not over the door, because then we don't really see much. I'll move this one up. And there we are. Let's make this brighter, 50. Yeah, pretty cool. Okay. We can also rotate the spotlight. So now I'm more actually washing along the wall. Very good. We have a cone. We can adjust the size of the cone or make it really wide. And the cone or spotlight does not only have to go ceiling down. We can also say copy and paste. Then I move this one down. I go to rotate from the side. Zip. bring this up. Oh, that's an interesting effect here, actually, lighting wise. And I bring this one to the back, maybe here. Oh, this looked interesting when it was in the corner. Oh, it illuminated both. And then maybe here. Oh, look at this. It shoots some light onto that architecture. Also interesting. Okay, very good. And obviously, there is really a lot more to how to work with lights and lighting design in the digital render environment. And to bring this introduction to an end, I just would like to quickly show you some additional tools so you're aware of those. I just only very quickly show you those. I'm not running you through the whole process because my main intent is that you will be aware of that these options are there too. And in later exercises, we will go more in depth into how to use those. So far, we basically worked with creating lights by using the built-in light types like point, sun, spot, area light. Another very interesting and very creative tool is actually turning a material into a light emitting material. So here I have this cylinder, and the cylinder has two materials, the red, which actually should be an orange, and a mesh light. So mesh light, basically, this is a second material, which I painted over certain parts of that cylinder. And every material has the ability to emit a little bit of light. And look at that. So 2, it's getting stronger, 4, 10. Ah, pretty cool. So you can see you can select any type of geometry and apply a light emitting material to it. This can be very useful when you would like to render, for example, neon lights, because it's just not a point. It's an object that emits light, or a TV screen, or if you have like a globe somewhere in a corner, a plastic globe that is diffused and inside is a light or a lamp that illuminates the globe, and then the globe illuminates well, sends out light into the room. So for example, here I will now go into edit mode, select the whole geometry, select this mesh light, click assign, and now the whole cylinder is actually becoming, well, a light body actually. No? So it's pretty cool. It's quite nice to work with. It's very, very creative what you can do with it. Okay, let me move this one back and undo this step. And there we are. Perfect. So that covered basically also all the standard built-in light and mesh light. But what problem do we actually have when we work with something like a point light? No, looks okay. It's simulating a luminar that emits 360-degree the light. And that's kind of like the problem. Now, when we buy a light bulb, there's a fixture around, and the light pattern is also not as uniform as we see it. For example, here we have light bulbs which are, the glass is clear, is coated, different colors, different temperatures. So let me show you now, for example, what in addition we could think about. Again, this is just really more as a quick demonstration, so sit back and enjoy the road or this demonstration. So I will select this light. Here we are. There's all my light material, and I have something here called nodes. And just click on it. And then when I zoom in here, this is my light object, my color, my strength. And here I can add now another function to it. For example, Blackbody. What's Blackbody? Okay, take a look at this. Interesting. When we go to here, what does this say? Everything is very orange because this is a very low temperature. When we set this to 6,500, that's actually degree Kelvin, you can see, oh, this is bluish. Yeah, this is actually how we define the light color temperature. 500, 5,000. So I do not simply mix here my RGB colors because it's very unscientific. I will specify the color of a light via the light temperature, for example. Okay, so that can make lights actually look a little bit more realistic. When let's say I want to like to do something that has the warmth of a candle or an Edison light bulb. No, the light pattern is still too uniform. Okay, let me show you something very interesting. So IES, basically these are files you can download, and every manufacturer of a luminar basically provides these yeah, could I say that? This information about how these light fixtures in a render environment would render. So these are lab measured profiles, if you want to call it this way. And you can see how interesting these light patterns they are. They have a huge selection, manufacturers, etc. And that's basically the way how you really realistically would approach lighting. For example, also if you work with Dialux, this is all what you would work with. Now you don't recreate your own light. You would go and find a fixture that has exactly the values you need. And then you will see how does this light actually work in the environment. Now we can download the IES profile. I will quickly go back to Blender. I will delete this. I will go to here and add this as a texture. And now I will load, for example, one profile. There it is. So here's like one. Okay. When I move this around, oh, look at this. You can see it's like actually like a downlight. And look at these really beautiful details. And this is something you cannot create by hand. That's the reason why you work with these profiles. Because the light is actually emitted, think about it like in a three-dimensional form. Maybe that's a good way to think about it. And look at the emission pattern even here on the floor. It's just not uniform. Okay, so now then these are actually so-called IES light profiles. Then there is one additional thing. So far we only work with the lights we can place inside a space, but what's actually going on with the environment? That's another very interesting element to work with. So I have no lights turned on. Here's my background, and I can just turn this on. So it's nice and bright and very artificial. Essentially, this is like a huge sphere around this model, emitting light, very uniform. Yeah, it's very easy to make a nice graphical representation of our space, but in terms of lighting, realism, poetry, it looks pretty bland. So what can we do? There are actually two options. Option number one, let me go back to here. We can find what is called Hri Environment Images. So this is like a nice field somewhere, and there are many services online where you can find these profiles, also for interior spaces. Here's, for example, a nice overcast. And then these images we can download. These are special formats, not just PNGs. And for my world, here I will give this now what's called an environment texture. So you see, like, we can give a texture onto an object, let's say like a wood texture, but we can also give our environment actually a texture. It's very difficult to rebuild reality, so we do this, for example, through, well, photographing it. Yeah, and there it is. There's the image wrapped 360-degree around. We could rotate this image too. I'm not going to show you this right now, but by rotating the image, we could, for example, change, well, where the light comes from, because in the photo, there is the sun, and that's where all the light comes from. The nice part of this approach is the colors are just very natural, because everything what you see here is actually, well, kind of like a light sphere around our object. It's very natural. Okay. So the only downside of this is, well, it's just a static image. I can't change the time. So we are going to hit also some of the limitations of what we can do with computer generated things. Rebuilding an environment like the world, clouds, and everything is very complicated and time consuming. So we try to find ways that are providing shortcuts. These images are one way how to do a shortcut. Let me show you a second way. So we still have this, and then we will go add texture, and in this case now I will say instead of environment, give me a sky. And there's my sky. Thank you. When we rotate around, might not really look like much. Okay. And we can change the elevation of the sun actually. Okay, so there's the sun right there. So you see we can do a nice sunset, sunrise. Okay, so this is very useful when we would like to study the flow of of a sun movement through a day. There you can see how I'm rotating basically the sun. That's above, and then now we can go down again. And also, well, the sun has kind of like another rotation too. But another very interesting feature here is now we can go to preferences, and everything what I show you is not unique to just to this program. It is simply the way how we work in computer graphics. And 3D render programs pretty much all do really the same. So I'm activating here what's called a sun position function. And what this actually does is now I can go to the world, and here I have more information about the sun position. So the sky should be the sky texture. Very good. Okay. And then here I will paste in a coordinate system. That's actually Detroit. And I have this, for example, from here. I Googled Detroit, the GPS coordinates, and here we have it. Everybody who paid attention to high school geography should know what that is. And what I can do now is say, hey, use the day of the year and the time, and I can even then at this location, okay, where is sunrise, where is sunset, and study how, for example, when I go through various days or in the month and the seasons, well, how would natural light hit or illuminate actually the interior space throughout a day. And this, as you can see, this is actually very, very helpful because while I do not have an environment, I can't simulate with this very quickly different seasons or so in a realistic way, but I can actually study the path of the sun in January, February, December, June, 6 a.m. in the morning, at 7 p.m. in the evening, and really know how much light from where would come into that space. Okay, that pretty much sums up this extra piece, what I wanted to show you about what actually digital lighting in 3D rendering all could be about.